What's going on, guys, and welcome to my Friday Night SmackDown review for November 20th, 2020. I am Graham G.S. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well. It is Survivor Series weekend. We got Survivor Series coming up tomorrow night. Seems to be pretty, I can't even say split as far as people that are excited for the event and people that aren't as excited for the event. It seems to be the general consensus regarding that pay-per-view that not a lot of people are looking forward to Survivor Series. I am mildly excited for the show. I will not be watching live. I will be watching on delay tomorrow night. But I am looking forward to it for a few of the matches that we now have on tap between McIntyre and Reigns, which had an amazing contract signing for on this show, which I'll get to momentarily. The Street Profits versus the New Day for the first time ever. Even Asuka and Sasha Banks, which it feels like we've seen a million times by this point. But that should be a great match as well. So I am looking forward to the show. I thought this was a decent go-home show. A lot like Raw, where I thought it was a good show, but not overly great. Just because there were a couple of good matches. I thought the opening match was fine, albeit pointless. The main event was very good. Murphy and Rollins was also very good. The issue with those matches, specifically the latter two, Murphy and Rollins and Jey and Bryan, they had nothing to do with Sunday. So, as an episode of SmackDown, I thought it was enjoyable. I didn't watch it until this morning just because, and you're going to get a kick out of this, I was actually playing SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 last night, General Manager mode. I may have mentioned this last week in the review for SmackDown, the audio review for the show. So, real quick story. Last Friday, or actually 2 weeks ago, the Friday before last Friday, I called up a local video game store here in Connecticut that's about 35-40 minutes away because just randomly out of nowhere, I had a hankering for GM mode in SmackDown vs. Raw. Maybe it was because of what we've been seeing lately on the show. Probably not, just because this whole brand supremacy thing on the current product is completely terrible and pointless. But it means something in those video games. I have not played General Manager mode. And those of you that know me well enough know I fucking love that mode and have played it almost not non-stop, but played it fairly regularly from like when I first got the game. Not when it came out in 06, I wasn't watching wrestling at that point. I first got the game, I think, in 2009 or 2010. Yeah, definitely 2009. And I played GM mode on and off for like the next decade. I haven't really played it as often since I would say 2017, and that's a long time for me to be taking 3 years off from GM mode. And also my PS2 broke. It just kind of died. It really just burned out because I played the game so fucking much, it just burned out. So I had to get a new system. I had to find my old SVR games. And I still do have the game somewhere. I got a new copy regardless. So, again, long story short, I'm kind of making this a long story here. But I had a hankering for SVR 07. And I bought the game over the summer from Amazon. I just needed a system. I was looking for systems I couldn't find when I had like a random $100 gift card that I got like literally a year ago that would have gone to waste had I not used it soon. So I bought a PS2 from a local video game store because I couldn't use it if I bought it online. I also found it a lot cheaper at this store than I would have got it online for like twice the amount. So go to the store, pick up the system. I already have the game. Try the game. It doesn't work. The Amazon copy that I bought over the summer doesn't work. Got to go back to the store and get another copy instead. It wasn't, overly expensive. So now I have two copies of the same game, one of which doesn't work. Come to find out last Saturday when I tried it out, that copy doesn't work either. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? So the store is great. They're very nice. I got to exchange the game and they gave me a new one. They tried it out right then and there. They weren't even sure if the PS2 was going to work. And I thought for a second that might have been the problem, but the PS2 worked. It's a slim version, the silver, from many, many years ago. We tried out the new game on Monday, and it worked. So Alexis and I, ever since Monday, have been doing SmackDown vs. Raw General Manager mode in 2007. She is Raw, I am SmackDown, and on Monday, part of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, we played the game. We're now up to early June. We did 2 months of the game, and it's just a lot of fun to the point where it takes so much time to book and we have so much fun with it that we just completely neglected all the shows this week. We didn't start Raw until like 9 or 10 o'clock. We didn't start NXT. I didn't even watch Dynamite, or rather NXT, until Thursday morning or really late on Wednesday night. Didn't watch Dynamite until like fucking 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock on Wednesday night. And then we didn't watch SmackDown. I didn't even watch SmackDown last night. I didn't leave her house until like 12:45, 12:30, 12:45. I didn't watch SmackDown until this morning. So again, I made a short story longer than it needed to be. But what I'm saying is, it's a great fucking game. And if I'm not watching SmackDown as, when it airs, that's probably why going forward. But again, I thought this was a good show, though. I enjoyed this show. Some things I didn't really care about, specifically the opening segment. So we'll start off from the beginning here. We had the New Day come out. So Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston, and Corbin even brought this up when he came out about how, didn't you guys just have a farewell match a month ago? Which is true, and Xavier clarified, and I appreciate the fact that they clarified that was their farewell as SmackDown superstars. Now they are on SmackDown again, visiting as Raw superstars. And I know the whole brand split thing, listen, I say it all the fucking time. Why do you have people go to different shows? It makes no sense. In this case, I'm willing to forgive it. One, we have the brand-to-brand invitation, which I don't think was ever mentioned once on the show. But I'm willing to forgive it on this show just because we do have Survivor Series on Sunday, and this was like their last-ditch effort to make people care about the show. I don't think it was successful, but I appreciate the attempt nonetheless. Now, I will say this. I think this was the first year since they started doing the SmackDown and Raw bullshit in 2016 that we did not get a major invasion from either show. I know we got one that first year. We had the SmackDown Raw Under Siege bullshit the year after that. We got it in 2018 when the Raw women went to, the SmackDown women rather went to Raw. We may have gotten vice versa the next night on SmackDown. I know we got it that year in 2018 because that was when Becky broke her nose. She had to be taken out of the match. She got bloodied up. It was a great moment. I don't know. Well, we got it last year, technically, just with the NXT people invading, because that was when NXT was involved. So, no real invasion this year. We just had Raw superstars cordially coming to the other show, which makes more sense. And the invasion stuff is cool, too, but it's been done to death. And the whole, we care about our brand, makes absolutely no fucking sense. I'm glad they didn't do that this year. Instead, we had the New Day coming back to SmackDown for one night only to be interrupted. And thankfully, Big E was not out there. It would have been way too soon to be reuniting those guys. He did introduce them in a backstage segment, doing the whole, the 10-time WWE world, like doing that whole shtick from the back without them. So I thought that was cool. The weird thing about Big E is that he's been on SmackDown lately, interacting with the Profits, because the Profits are facing the New Day on Sunday. But he's not even on Team SmackDown. We found out later in the show that Otis is the final man of Team SmackDown at Survivor Series. Now, when Adam Pearce said to someone backstage, and this I guess could always change before the show, which I'll get to in a moment, but we see Adam Pearce, and I'm jumping all over the place here, addressing someone, saying, I liked your story, I liked how you've really, persevered through those tumultuous times, or whatever the fuck he said. And I'm like, he's talking about Lars Sullivan, which it sounds dumb, but it makes sense. Lars has been all over SmackDown since he got drafted. We didn't see him last week. I don't think we saw him in that weird-ass sit-down interview 2 weeks ago. The interview from 3 weeks ago I thought was good. 2 weeks ago was bad. We didn't see him last week. I figured, okay, he'll get added to Team SmackDown. It just makes sense. Wasn't Lars Sullivan. Wasn't Big E. It was fucking Otis. Which, listen, I like Otis. And I think it just would have made more sense. I think I saw Solomonster say this or someone else, that Otis and Tucker on the kickoff show instead of that pointless dual-branded Battle Royal would have made a lot more sense. Tucker turned on the guy. They brawled afterwards backstage. We never got any resolution to that whatsoever. Both guys have been far worse off since then. And Otis already got his chance to qualify, and he fucking lost. So it made no sense. If they put Murphy in that spot, it would have made sense. Rey Mysterio would have made sense. Nope, just fucking Otis. They just put Otis in there so he can be quickly eliminated. Just a warm body to be bumped out of the ring within the first 5 minutes by Braun Strowman. That's the only reason why he's in there. It just makes no sense. But you can also do that with a Rollins, though. The guy's over enough where it's okay if he gets eliminated in the first 5 minutes. Or a King Corbin. Who cares? Big E could have been in there. Didn't have to get eliminated in the first 5 minutes. He could have lasted a while, been the sole survivor. Whatever. I just thought that was weird. Going back to the opening segment, New Day did not interact. Big E did not interact with Kingston and Woods. But Corbin was out there. Sami Zayn was out there. They were interrupted by Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Again, this is all over the fucking place. Ziggler and Roode are not on the show on Sunday, at least not in the main show, probably in the Battle Royal. Zayn is facing Bobby Lashley. Corbin's on the Team SmackDown team. And then the Profits are facing the New Day. So again, this made absolutely no sense. And New Day even said at one point, and I know this led to an 8-man tag team match, and Corbin, Zayn, and Ziggler and Roode were just there to take the loss. I get it. And I didn't love the fact that Zayn got pinned, but they wanted to do the whole thing where he was frustrated to build to him and Bryan afterwards, so I get it. I mean, Ziggler's right fucking there. They could have pinned Ziggler, but whatever. So they did this to build to the Profits and New Day on Sunday. They team up successfully. They win the match. Montez Ford pins Zayn for the win. Cool. The match was fine, completely pointless. It just felt like it dragged on forever. And before we even got that 8-man tag team match, the New Day were promising a tag title shot to, I think, Rude and Ziggler, or maybe even Corbin and Zayn, or like a triple threat or something. And I'm like, why the fuck, regardless of whether they want to or not, why the fuck would anyone in this company sanction a title match? I mean, we got 2 on Raw, I get that, but sanction a Raw tag team title match between a Raw team and a SmackDown team before the actual pay-per-view. Why even bother teasing it? It makes absolutely no sense. Because let's say we got that instead of what we got instead, and I know why they didn't do it for that reason, but to even tease it was dumb. Ziggler and Rude could have won the belts and then faced, the Profits, even though they're both on the same fucking show. Again, it makes absolutely no sense. But the 8-man tag team match was fine. It was enjoyable. I just don't really care. I'm more excited for Profits and New Day on Sunday. This didn't really make me any more excited for that than I was before, but I enjoyed the interaction nonetheless. So Otis was randomly given a spot on Team SmackDown for the men. Whatever. For the women, Bayley was also randomly given a shot, although a spot on Team SmackDown for the women of the pay-per-view. That is a bit different, though. I mean, everyone should have to qualify. Bianca had to qualify, Liv had to qualify, Ruby had to qualify, even Natalya. As much as I don't give a fuck about Natalya, even she qualified, and she had to qualify. After losing 3 straight fucking qualifying matches, she had to win on the show. She beat Tamina in a completely throwaway match, a match that we would have seen and probably did see on Raw 10 years ago, when the Hart Dynasty was feuding with the Usos. I'm pretty positive we got that match on Raw 10 years ago. It's still as abysmal now as it was then, because Tamina sucks. Thankfully, the match was like a minute or 2 long, not even. Natalya wins, whatever. At least she qualified. Bayley did not. Now, I guess the idea is that she's so qualified already, being the former SmackDown Women's Champion for almost 500 days, not consecutively, but between the 2 reigns that she had, dating back to last year. The face of the SmackDown Women's division up until recently. I get it, but would it have killed them to have her beat like a fucking Billie Kay or something? I mean, it's just weird to just outright name her a member of the team 2 days before the pay-per-view. If they wanted to do it from the get-go, I get it. Like right after she lost the title, but you couldn't do that because she was facing Sasha for the championship a couple of weeks ago on the show. So it just didn't make a whole lot of sense. But Natalya and Tamina was thankfully short. Not so sweet, but it was short. And then all of Team SmackDown for the women posed together afterwards. So at least they're a cohesive team, which makes me worried that they're going to lose, because the whole Lana story on Raw is kind of the bigger focus, so Lana might be the sole survivor. I think that's fucking terrible. It doesn't benefit anyone, not even including Lana, because she's terrible. Bianca being the sole survivor just makes way more sense. She has way more to gain. She's the fresher face. Lana sucks. Belair's the one to build up. I like Bayley. She's already had her time. The Riot Squad will not last, obviously. And then Natalya sucks, too. So Belair's got to be the sole survivor. Will she? Probably not. It's probably going to be Team Raw. But I want it to be Belair. So the best part of this entire episode, that did have to do with Survivor Series, and just the best part of the show in general, was the contract signing between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. I really enjoyed their interaction last week on the show. I know it made no sense for Orton to win the WWE title at Hell in a Cell only to lose it 3 weeks later, right back to Drew McIntyre on Raw. It made for a good match on Raw, made for a cool moment. It did render Randy's reign completely irrelevant. I totally get that, and I agree. But there is no doubt in my mind that Roman and Drew is the bigger main event for Survivor Series. Now, people are saying they should have waited for WrestleMania. I don't think we're getting it at WrestleMania. And not that we shouldn't, but like Drew's on Raw, Roman's on SmackDown. Neither guy should go to the opposite show. Roman has at least 3 or 4 other people I would rather see him face before Drew McIntyre. It's a WrestleMania match we already got 2 years ago. And I'm glad we're getting it here, but I don't think they shouldn't do it here just because they might do it there. And I don't think they will. I don't think they are. So I'm glad we're getting it on Sunday. And I think Drew already haven't been beaten this year by Randy. If he can get beat by fucking Randy Orton, I think he can afford to lose to Roman Reigns. So anyone saying, it's going to be a fuck finish, or like, The Miz very well may cash in before or after DQ, whatever, Sheamus might get involved. I don't know. But Drew can afford to lose. Roman, I think this is his match to win. And I love both guys, but I think Roman should win. As far as the contract signing is concerned, I thought this was phenomenal. And specifically for the little minor touches here, the minor little touches, including how Roman was not sitting on the opposite end of the table of McIntyre, but rather at the end of the table, because he is the head of the table. He's the tribal chief, so I thought that was great. And also, what was the other thing? Oh, the fact they used no mics. They used no microphones in this segment, which makes sense. There's no fans there, so why would they even need to? They're at a fucking table. They don't need to talk into the mics. You could perfectly hear everything they were saying anyway. It was short, sweet, intense. McIntyre cut a good promo, but specifically Roman, he was awesome here. We need to hear more from Roman Reigns on the mic. Slowly but surely, I feel like we are hearing more from Roman on the mic, which is phenomenal, and the guy's knocking it out of the park. He basically called McIntyre the second-rate champion. His title doesn't even matter. He is the guy that they throw in there to fill in for Roman Reigns. When Roman doesn't want to do something or he can't make it, they throw Drew in there. He's the second best. Everyone knows who Roman Reigns is, according to Roman himself. No one knows who Drew is. This is my time. I'm the champion. You're merely a title holder. That's what Heyman said on Talking Smack, which I will review later. This was just phenomenal. So they both signed the contract. He just walks off, and that was it. This was fucking great. If you didn't watch this the first time around, definitely catch it on the WWE YouTube channel or whatever, because I thought this was great. Speaking of good stuff, Murphy and Seth Rollins, another very good match from them. I personally preferred the first match they had. It was longer, not as much bullshit. The Mysterio family was heavily involved here, but you had to expect that just given it's the end of the story between Rollins and the Mysterio family, and it's involved Murphy. I get it. The first match, again, I thought was better, but this was still very enjoyable. They made the most of the time that they had. And, yeah, that's really about it. Murphy did win, which was the right call. I was a little disappointed he didn't win the first time, but it made more sense for Rollins to win there so Murphy could win here. So Murphy wins. This was not the last that we'll see of Seth because he is on Team SmackDown on Sunday. But hopefully after that, Seth goes away for a while, kind of refreshes the character, comes back bigger and better. And now Murphy can kind of hopefully go off and be a breakout babyface on his own. I guess he's got Aaliyah still. I would end that soon at some point. That really doesn't need to be a thing. But, I think Murphy as a breakout babyface is perfect. So hopefully we get that at some point without the Mysterio family involved. So I thought this was very good. We then got Asuka and Sasha Banks going face-to-face. And before I go any further with my SmackDown review, I will and should mention this. My exclusive interview with the boss herself, the SmackDown Women's Champion, Sasha Banks, is available right now, right here on this channel. Be sure to subscribe for more exclusive interviews, but that chat is live right now. We talk all about her moving to SmackDown, representing the Blue brand, her recent rivalry with Bayley, blowing it off inside Hell in a Cell, her version, what she thinks the SmackDown 6 in 2020 should consist of, her thoughts on Roman Reigns, her thoughts on Asuka, Survivor Series coming up, and the big one, The Mandalorian, her acting future, how that kind of came about, stuff like that. So it's a really cool conversation. The audio quality is not the best, at least from her end. I don't know if that was my fault or her fault, I don't know, because the call did cut out a few different points. But it's a great conversation nonetheless. You can check out the audio version of that interview right here in the channel from yesterday, and the article version in the description box of that video on Bleach Report as well that went up yesterday morning. So Sasha and Asuka went face-to-face here. I like Sasha's promo. She's kind of fitting in well to the whole tweener character, and that's what I would call her. She's not a flat-out heel, because she is facing heel people. She's facing Carmella. She feuded with Bayley. But she's also not your typical babyface. This is not the same boss, the babyface boss from like 3 or 4 years ago. This is a completely different Sasha Banks. She's still annoying in as a character and very confident in herself and very whatever, but she's not, she's very confident and cocky and whatnot, but she's now kind of targeting her hatred or aggression, whatever, towards heel superstars. I mean, obviously she's facing Asuka on Sunday, but that's because of the brand versus brand thing. So speaking of which, they did acknowledge their history, which I liked. Sasha has never formally straight up beaten Asuka one-on-one. They had that fuck finish at Extreme Rules. They did the match the next night that Sasha won by countout. But the other two matches they had on Raw and SummerSlam respectively, Asuka won. So I think this match is Sasha's to win. I thought this was fine. Asuka, I just don't get the appeal of these promos. The rambling promos in Japanese. It's not even the fact that she's speaking in Japanese. It's the fact that they just have her go off like a crazy person. and they never explain what she's actually saying. It's just incoherent nonsense. It's just fucking annoying. And like, if she was a heel of the Kabuki Warriors and she was doing this then too, I get it. But if she's supposed to be a babyface, why can't we get the Asuka that we first got when she came to the main roster? Or the Asuka that we got in NXT? She can speak Japanese here and there. When it's literally her entire promo and she's not even saying anything coherent, she's just fucking screaming. It's just so annoying. It's so annoying. I thought this sucked. From Asuka's end. I thought the Sasha stuff was good. On Asuka's end, it was terrible. This made me want to see Sasha win on Sunday even more. Carmella did attack Sasha pretty brutally too. Asuka just stood there, so I thought that was kind of funny and watched it happen. I mean, she's the babyface, but why the fuck would she care about saving Sasha? Sasha and they just kind of went off on each other, so why would Asuka care? So that happened. Carmella continues to attack Sasha, and it hasn't led anywhere yet. It's 3 weeks in a row now that she's been attacked by Carmella. And I assume they're just kind of holding off until after the pay-per-view. But this was fine. We get to the main event, Daniel Bryan and Jey Uso in a very good match, a rematch from, I believe, 3 weeks ago, when Daniel Bryan got beat by Jey Uso to qualify for Team SmackDown at the pay-per-view. So yeah, Daniel Bryan did not win his spot back on the show. Jey Uso is still on Team SmackDown, but Daniel Bryan's showing up here with a new haircut. He looks great, but I will say, though, he looks a lot like The Miz. Looks almost exact, not like facially, but like the haircut looks like it was inspired by the fucking Miz, which is funny because they're arch rivals, or at least they were at one point. So I thought that was funny. But he looks great though. He had a promo earlier on in the show where he was talking. He cut this great promo, and he was great, even better on Talking Smack, where he said that all the time that he spent on the shelf, he couldn't bring his kids to school, he couldn't, kiss his wife, blah blah blah. So he was out for vengeance here. He got it. He did win clean as he should have. Daniel Bryan cannot lose to everybody. I love the fact that Bryan loses to a lot of people to elevate them, and that's awesome. But he's got to win some matches himself, so I'm glad he won here. Jey Uso doesn't really lose a lot. Jey Uso looked very good here, as he has for the last couple of months. So Bryan wins. No sign of Roman Reigns, though I have to expect that this is where this is going. Bryan going after Roman, because he made it pretty clear on Talking Smack. He made it clear on this show that he has not forgotten what happened to him 3 weeks ago, and that he's out for revenge, and he's probably going for Roman Reigns. If that's the TLC match, not a TLC match, but the main event for SmackDown at that pay-per-view, I'm all fucking in. Whether it's there or at the Rumble or both. I think the Rumble's even better. I mean, the Rumble is where this whole thing between them happened in the first place. Because Bryan did not win the Rumble in 2015, that's when everyone went fucking pissed. Everyone lost their minds and hated on Roman for winning. Although, if it wasn't for Bryan, people probably would have cheered Roman. Or at least not booed him as heavily. So I think if you carry that story through then, that's even fucking better. I think that's amazing. But it is worth noting, though, that he had an interaction before that promo earlier on in the show. He did have that interaction with Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn said he never forgets. Because Sami was running his mouth. Bryan pushed him on the ground. And Sami said he never forgets. And then Bryan had his mask on for part of it, and he was social distancing, so I thought that was good for Bryan for wearing a mask and social distancing. I appreciate that. I commend that. So, clearly is unfinished business with Sami, which they've teased before. They also teased something with him and Rollins at one point, which I would save for down the road anyway, probably for WrestleMania. So I'm glad they're not really getting into that right now. But yeah, Bryan and Sami have interacted a few times lately. It looks like that's the direction they're going in, so why is he... Maybe they do Bryan and Sami at TLC, and then that leads to, I don't know how a loss to Sami would have him, earn him a shot against Roman at Royal Rumble, but I guess that's the direction they're probably going in. They also did tease something at one point between Sami and Otis. I think when Otis was still Mr. Money in the Bank, so they have no real set rival for Sami right now. Everyone's feuds are kind of up in the air with Survivor Series happening on Sunday. Hopefully we get a better idea of what the fuck's going on after this pay-per-view is over. I just want the brand supremacy bullshit to be done with. But yeah, I think whatever they do with Bryan, either option is good. Bryan and Sami had a very good match at WrestleMania. Never really got a chance to be the full rivalry, the full feud that it could have been, due to Sami taking time off after Mania and Bryan leaving soon after Sami in I think June or so. So yeah, I would like to see Bryan and Sami again, but maybe they do that on SmackDown and then Roman interrupts and Sami wins and we get Roman and Bryan in the next pay-per-view. I could definitely see that. So either way, I'm very excited to see what they do. Neither option is bad. I thought it was a good way to close out the show. The only issue with that being the main event was that it had absolutely nothing to do with Survivor Series. Bryan's not even on the show as of right now on Sunday, and I highly doubt he's going to be in a fucking pre-show dual-branded Battle Royal. No thanks. That's really where Otis should have been, and Daniel Bryan should have been on Team SmackDown, but I digress. Why Adam Pearce would pick Otis over, maybe Big E. I mean, he's a former Intercontinental Champion, so he's a much better option. Lars Sullivan is dominant. It's a dumb decision to not pick them over Otis, but to pick Otis over Daniel Bryan, a former multi-time WWE Champion, World Heavyweight Champion, Intercontinental Champion, Tag Team Champion, United States Champion, Mr. Money in the Bank, WrestleMania headliner. Why? I don't know. Honestly, I really have no idea. I don't know if Daniel Bryan's ever been in one of these elimination tag team matches. I'm not even sure if he has. Man, I'm trying to think right now. I don't think he ever has. He's been in WWE on and off for a decade now, but he wasn't last year because he faced The Fiend instead. In 2018, he faced Brock Lesnar in the main event. Lost both of those matches, by the way. 2017, he wasn't wrestling. 2016, he wasn't wrestling. 2015, he wasn't wrestling. 2014, he wasn't wrestling. He was inactive for all those years. 2013, I think he and CM Punk teamed up against the Wyatt family in just the normal, straight-up 2-on-2 tag team match. 2012, actually, he was in a Survivor Series elimination match. I think I remember that. Him and Kane were a part of like Team Orton or something, and they lost. I'm pretty sure. 2011, he wasn't on the show, I don't think. And then 2010, if he was at Survivor Series 2010, I think he faced Ted DiBiase. I'm pretty sure that's what happened, and then he wasn't there in 2009. So he's been in one, but what I'm trying to get at here is that he's a much better pick, logically. If Adam Pearce was just going to pick someone, then it should have been Daniel Bryan, not fucking Otis, who hasn't accomplished anything on the main roster aside from winning a briefcase. And I love Otis, don't get me wrong, but like logically it makes no sense. Adam Pearce wins the award for one of the worst GMs, if that's even what he's called, commissioner, official, whatever, of the year, because that was a pretty dumb decision. Overall, though, again, I enjoyed the SmackDown. I enjoyed this episode of SmackDown. Can't say it got me any more excited for the pay-per-view on Sunday than it was previously, but I'm not going to sit here and shit on Survivor Series. There are some matches that, well, from a storyline standpoint, I don't give a whole shit about this Raw versus SmackDown shit, especially without NXT involved. But the matches themselves could be very good. Bobby and Zayn, I don't really give a shit about, but Asuka and Sasha should be a great match per usual. Profits and New Day has the potential to be a lot of fun. Roman and Drew could be a lot of fun. The two elimination matches are almost usually very good, specifically the men's ones. The women's one last year I thought was very good. In years past, not so much. But yeah, I have faith. I have faith that they'll do right by this show and that it's going to be a good show, hopefully. We will see. But SmackDown continues to be the better brand. Raw, I thought, was a pretty good show on Monday. By recent Raw standards, it was a good show. I would probably still put SmackDown over Raw in terms of just being better this week. But I thought this was all right. So, anyway, check out all my other SmackDown reviews right here in the channel in the description box down below. Like this video. Be sure to drop a comment and share the video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily content, including SmackDown audio reviews every single Saturday, Talking Smack reviews, Raw Talk reviews, more reviews of content from the WWE Network, including this weekend. We got a Break It Down review featuring The Undertaker, a Chronicle on Lana, which went up today, and that review won't be up until Monday. Tuesday, I think, or maybe Monday or Wednesday, whatever. Broken Skull Sessions Round 2, one last round, one final round, whatever, with The Undertaker. That's going up tomorrow on the network, and my review will be up on Tuesday or Wednesday. I also do #AskGSM, a weekly Q&A video, Wrestle Rant Radio excerpts every single Thursday. We do Mandalorian reviews on Monday. We just wrapped up. On Mondays, that's what we do. We also just recently wrapped up an MCU Rewatch review series, breaking down every movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That was a lot of fun. There's a lot of content here on the channel, including other miscellaneous videos. Again, exclusive interviews with Sasha Banks, Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Triple H, Jeff Hardy, Cameron Grimes, Johnny Gargano, Danny Burch. The list goes on and on and on and on. So again, subscribe today. You will not be disappointed. Have a great one, guys. Enjoy Survivor Series tomorrow. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.